Wait. Neptune and Uranus are lesbians? I thought they were cousins. But, okay, we'll figure that out after we're done. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Maximum News. I am your host, as always, your friendly neighborhood Simpsons kin, Max Derrat. And I am joined, as always, by...
Sybsidian of the Triple S League. And yes, I am aware that a large comet did impact Phobie, I think it was, one of the moons out there. And yes, I may have had a slight responsibility for that. I'm sorry.
Wait.
Just wanted to get that off the table first.
Okay, damn it. Okay, I had to clarify because I think you missed the joke. So, before we were recording, my wife and I, we got Hulu to watch Shogun. That new show that came out? It's pretty good overall. I'd highly recommend people go check it out. But now we just had the thing for another few days, and we're just watching random things. And she showed me the first episode of Sailor Moon that I've watched since I was like 6. And yeah, and she explained to me like there are these two characters, Uranus and Neptune, who apparently are lesbians in the original anime, but because that wasn't so what's the word? It wasn't so well accepted in America at the time that Sailor Moon was airing. They decided to make them cousins instead of lesbians.
Now wait a second. Which one was? So what was the original thing? Is that they were lesbians or they were cousins?
Oh, they were originally lesbians. Yeah, come on, man. Like you think they would allow like a kids cartoon?
Right. Yes, yeah. but that was didn't that air that way in Japan?
Yes.
Yes, and then when they brought it to America, then they had to change it because they're like, oh no, we definitely can't do this.
Right. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
So, and apologies, it wasn't Phobie, it was Ganymede. Ganymede got hit by a giant asteroid like 2 days ago, and it was like massive one, shattered a good chunk of the planet's surface. And yes, I may have had something to do with it, and it wasn't about Sailor Moon.
Okay, note to self: don't piss Cyb off anytime soon. Okay, we're here to talk about video games. I don't know, maybe there's Sailor Moon video games, but we're not really talking. Like, there's no reason to talk about that right now. Not any good ones, right?
That's the problem. And I'm gonna bitch a little bit about Capcom today, and just how there's no good games for a lot of like the really good anime out there. And I know it's not Capcom's fault. It's not like they hold the IPs, but it's like they could have had an absolute banger like Sailor Moon game. Like there's 1,000 ways to make a Sailor Moon game like awesome.
Sure.
And I think the only thing that we really have is like some like really bad like visual novels.
Yeah. It's such a staple. Like it's one of those things that even if you'd never watched anime in your life, everybody knows Sailor Moon. There are starving kids in Africa that know what Sailor Moon is. It's a franchise that's waiting to be mined. Anyway, if you want a good anime game, go play Persona, even though it's not technically, but video games. We got just a few things that we're going to talk about today. A piece of generally bad news, but mostly good news, I would say.
Oh no! The first story is nothing but good news. And a giant middle finger to everybody involved. I'm sorry you lost your jobs. I'm sorry you're an idiot, and that you called the fans, what was it? Talentless freaks.
Right, the leader. Yeah, not necessarily the devs working under him, but the leader. Sure, yeah.
No, it was most of the devs.
Okay.
Like a vast majority of the devs were like, we can't miss with this, period. And anybody who raised any questions or concerns like early on, all of those people were replaced. So like nobody there actively right now, I think, had like any kind of like solid understanding of like how to make games. I really don't think so.
Well, at least no. The problem was they didn't have any understanding of how to market it and make it stand out. the game itself was okay. Like, it wasn't garbaggio like so many other games that have come out and absolutely failed. Like, I'd rather play Concord than play Suicide Squad, for example. But anyway,
Yeah.
we're generally on the same page, like most of us are when it comes to this bloody game. So, what is the most recent development, Saib?
So the Concord has officially shut down.
After
It's like
2 weeks.
it wasn't even 2 weeks; it was 9 days. They sped run. Um, Not only just, I mean, I think we're going to see a bankruptcy for the studio, but they sped run the complete and total failure. Like, you thought that there was that the destruction of the DC garbage, right? Like that stupid Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
You thought that was a fast crash and burn. This
Concord.
is just
Yeah.
absolutely astounding. They have an episode of that new show coming out from Amazon that's entirely based on Concord.
Oh,
I don't even know if we're
yeah.
going to see it. I wonder if they're just going to pull that and go, yeah, no, and I think they will, because a lot of people are like, oh, they're good on Sony for realizing this was a bunch of garbage and for pulling it now. No, 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 no. Sony is not the good guy here. They pulled this game and they have like shuttered it, not because they realize that they made a large mistake, or because that they know that there's nothing they can do to make the game better. No, 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 no. It's entirely because if they close it, I think it's before, like, they had to close it within the next like couple of weeks. Otherwise, they couldn't do a certain tax
Yeah,
deductible
that's it.
bankruptcy claim on it. And if they can do that, then their next if they can do that properly, then they don't lose that 250 million dollars that they blew on this game. They don't lose that when it comes to what's it called? The actual, like, uh the current financial year, which is again different than the regular like the regular year, right? Like,
Yep.
it's like the reporting that they have to do in a few months will look a lot better if they just completely like declare bankruptcy and everything gets canned, everything gets hidden, everything gets essentially destroyed, that has anything to do with the game, and that's just the way that it is. So that's why they're doing it. They're not doing it because they've heard the complaint of the people. If they heard the complaint of the people, they wouldn't have made this garbage to begin with. Like, they would have realized 4 years ago that the looter shooter, like, that
Genre,
concept is,
yeah.
yeah, that genre is like in need of some serious, like, it's over, it's completely over, there's too much of it, it's oversaturated, nobody's enjoying it, it's just garbage. And that's the thing that they needed to understand, and I don't think they've actually realized that. Like, they're probably not gonna, like, rush to make another looter shooter, but the bad investment idea is, like, these people are still in control. The board members are still voting on this kind of garbage, going, "Oh, yeah, no, this'll be good. This'll be fine. This'll work." And it's like, "No, it's not going to work." So yeah, that's the big thing. A lot of people are praising it. There's this game developer who made a pretty impassionate speech about this recently, and he's kind of going a little bit like viral right now. He originally said, "Let me fix your game."
Uh-huh.
That was his, like, claim, was like, "Let me fix your game. Give me 6 months, I'll fix the game. I'll turn it around." He's a small, like, single A slash, like, double A producer, and lead, and like, what he was asking for, I thought was pretty good. And then at this point, like, they're not gonna do that because obviously they will make more money by declaring it as a tax write-off and using it to basically dampen the majority of taxes that they have to pay this year and next year.
Yeah.
But I would you remember so you remember a few years ago, there was like a MOBA type third person game. I believe, I want to say it was from Nvidia, but I might be really wrong on that.
I'll
But
look
they
it up.
brought the game out. It was like moderately okay-ish, but it wasn't making the success they wanted to. So instead, what the company did was, instead of trying to, like, beat a dead horse, they actually gave all of the assets to the community and said, just go nuts. Like, if you want to put out this game as is right now, you can do that. You just like download everything, put it all together, boom, done. But I think what we're seeing here with this is like they wouldn't do that because like I just don't think that they have the, obviously it's the taxes, but it's also just like they don't want to be proven wrong by modders and indie game developers who will take the stuff that they have and basically like throw together a way better game, because that's what would happen if they let just everybody like just have at it. And that's kind of dumb when you think about it, honestly.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the game is.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to look it up right now. I can't seem to find anything,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
it was a few years ago. It was like, I think it was like 7 years ago, something like
Mm.
that. But that would be smart. Is like, take all this stuff, literally give it to the community and see what the community can make out of it. Because I guarantee you, it'll probably end up being better.
Yeah. I just watched a video today of it was what culture gaming, like
Yep.
low key one of my guilty pleasures is top 10 lists on
Hmm.
YouTube. Full disclosure. But they actually put out one I think today that was actually pretty good, where they talked about times where fans came in and saved the game. One example was Fallout 3. I never got to the end of Fallout 3, but apparently it was so atrociously stupid in terms of the logic of it that fan backlash made them
Yeah.
change
Yeah.
it.
They
Yeah.
made they made them rewrite it. It was and it's not just
Sorry,
like,
that's kind of a bad example. I'm sorry. The other one I had on the brain was actually more applicable to what we're talking about. It was Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, where apparently the game was released in such an unfinished state that fans got together and took
yeah.
all the stuff
Yeah.
that wasn't finished about it, finished it, and now it's actually recognized as canon. The fans coming together and fixing the game. Yeah,
Yeah.
let that sort of thing happen. Absolutely.
Like it's like, at this point it's like, what do you have to lose?
Sure.
Now the rules of certain bankruptcies is that for certain bankruptcy, you're not allowed to use any part of it ever, period. And so you literally put it into a vault and nobody ever sees it ever again. It's what happened with the Teddy Rupskin thing. If you like, that's going way back in the time machine. Back in my day, Teddy Rupskin went bankrupt, and when it did, everything got buried. The like just enormous
Yeah.
amounts of toys went to landfills. The show just got absolutely destroyed. They would actually go to the small television stations that bought copies of it. They would pack it up and then they would burn it. And it's like that's the insanity of like how that's a really screwed up way of capitalism working, like 100%. Like
Mhm.
that's just really dumb. It's like I remember being in a store just after the Teddy Rupskin thing went bankrupt, and I remember watching as like staff came out, picked up the toys, grabbed the toy from somebody who was trying to buy it. Like the kid had it in the cart, and he was just like, he was like, "Yay, Teddy Rupskin!" And some people walked over. It's like, "Yeah, you can't buy that anymore. Like, we have to take it away, and we're putting it on a truck, and it'll get shipped to a place where it's shipped to a landfill, and then they'll crush it." And the lady was like, "Well, then just give it to me for free." It's like, "Nope, sorry, can't do it. We had 8 of these boxes today, and we have to send 8 of them back, and so we can't send, or we'll get sued." And it's like,
Yeah.
wow, that is just so mental. That is so mental. That is so stupid. But yeah, I remember the kids screaming and crying because they literally took them away and they told them flat out, sorry, Teddy Rupskin's got to go to the landfill.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Instead of
that was,
just yeah, it's
yeah, so weird. Like, just, but this is what the corporate system has become, and it started back then, and it's gotten worse ever since, because instead of coming up with content and games that people want, they're trying to fish super wide, right? Like they've got to have they got to have that Burns uh fish scraper, right, from The
Mhm.
Simpsons, where
Good call.
Burns,
Yeah.
he puts out the net that dredges the entire ocean and
Mhm.
turns everything into either food or oil or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like that's what's, happening in these cases where it's like our audience has to be everybody. We have to make a game that gets everybody dedicatedly interested in doing this. Period. We can't not have this.
Mhm.
And that's just the dumbest, the weirdest thing that you could think of, because you're just like, no, this is a terrible idea. Why are you doing this? And they're doing it because that's just the way that it works. That's
Yeah.
just the way that it's going to be.
It's for all those reasons that you mentioned, Side, that I don't imagine, like, just given how much of an embarrassment that Concord has been, and, where all of Sony's major projects are right now, that they're just going to bury this and try to pretend that it never happened. Although, make no mistake, this is going to go down in history as probably one of the, at the least, top 10 biggest failures in the history of gaming. I don't see how it couldn't
Yeah.
any other way. In the
Well,
meantime, though, go ahead.
it's right up there with all the games that they have literally burned $100+ million on. Again, that Star Wars game that was supposed to 4343 or whatever it was.
Oh, 13,
Um,
13, yeah.
Sorry, 1313. Yeah, even with that,
That game
it's like
is done. Release it.
it's done. It's literally sitting again. It's sitting in a vault somewhere. And even today, and this is the sad thing, even today they could release it, and they would probably make 100 million on it.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, the dumb people at Disney are just like, no, 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 we're not going to do that. We're not. It's canceled. It's no longer canon. Okay, you understand? I didn't like the nasty bounty hunters. We can't have that. You
We
gotta
can't
not
have
do that.
R-rated Star Wars. What the hell? Come
Like,
on.
and it's just like it's so. And again, it doesn't make any sense. It literally hurts my brain. And it makes me sad because it's just art that's wasted. And this is art that has been wasted. It's bad art. It was terrible art. It was so poorly done, so poorly designed, so poorly planned. And yeah, it's just a failure now. And it's like, well, that kind of sucks.
So they better hope that, well, like they said they have like six live service games in development, and that was before Concord was announced or released, I believe. Or it was 12, and then it
Not
became 6.
anymore.
Right, right. I imagine, like, if they're going to continue to go down this path, they're just going to have to throw all the money that they have left in their budget for this grand project at Bungie and Marathon, just to hope they can see that thing towards the end, because Bungie's still sort of the golden child. But man, some of the stuff that's been going on behind the scenes with that game is just, I like. Have you seen that GIF from that TV show Peaky Blinders, where the guy's holding the gun to his head and screaming?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I imagine somebody's doing right now over the whole marathon thing. But as much as I tend to sort of pull back a little bit, and as far as my personal criticism towards the developers, as far as the whole, just like pursuing the live service trend that Sony and the leadership over at Firewalk Studios, Firewalk are the people behind Concord. You deserve all the criticism in the world. You deserve this failure, and hopefully this will be enough. I would have to imagine that this has been such a huge failure that it's really going to make the executives rethink their strategies moving forward. Maybe reinvesting in AA and indie companies like they always should have done from the very beginning. But we'll see. Anyway, anything else you want to say about Concord?
Goodbye. You shall
Farewell.
not be missed.
Auf Wiedersehen. Oh no, wait. So long, farewell. I'm trying to put a joyful spin on the whole thing. Anyway, that's it. What else have we got?
Just a second here. We've got so this is I had a thing
A thing.
Yeah, I
I
have a
like
thing.
things. That sounded weird.
Max,
Sorry. Go ahead.
Max,
Yeah, yeah.
have you ever been told that you're a wizard?
I'm a what?
You're a wizard.
I'm a
A
what?
wizard. You're a wizard,
I'm
Max. A wizard.
I'm a
You
what?
can you can do things with wands and fly around on broomsticks. It's going to be great. I can't get his accent.
Hey, that was pretty decent though.
I can't get his accent. I'm
Bloody
trying to.
marvelous, Harry. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I shouldn't have told you that. I shouldn't have told you that. Oh, I shouldn't have told you that. I am. So the announcement has come out that they are working on another Harry Potter. Sorry, not Harry Potter. Not Harry Potter. Hogwarts game. They're working on another
Right.
Hogwarts game.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a continuation of what they've established,
Cool.
and that they really have like. Basically, it's like, as far as I understand, this is what happened with the board, with all of the people in control. Oh, we're getting so much hate for making this game because of, all the inner political BS stuff going on with so and so, who. And this is just really bad. Oh dear. Well, I mean, let's just put the game out and see what it sells, because we do have some people who are saying that it's really going to sell quite well. That it's really going to sell quite well. So let's just get it out. There seems to be a groundswell for this. We'll see how it goes, right? We might make like 100 million off of it. So let's do it. I'm sorry, we made how much money?
Right. Selling more than Call of Duty that year, I think.
Right. And basically it was like a couple months later, they're like, so turns out that if we ignore the backlash because of the political stuff, and we just say, hey, we're just trying to make a good game that helps people fulfill their childhood fantasies.
Right.
And we don't want to get political, we just want to have the option. We just want to have the option. We just want to put it out there. We just want to let people experience the story in the way that they want to. So let's just give it the option.
Mhm.
And then they went and they realized, oh, if we do that, we make tons of money. Like heap loads of money. So originally, while they didn't necessarily start off from scratch saying, yeah, we're gonna make another game, what they have instead, they had this moment where they're like, okay, we should actually just make more. But they had to fight for it. They literally had to fight for it. They literally had to fight people on their board who were saying, well, I have friends in the pro college athlete games, you understand, sir. I've got friends who are a part of that circle of video gaming, and I cannot, in good conscience, back this. This is ridiculous. Can't we just go back to making, to abusing college athletes and turning them into the, people who work for free and without choice of working for you or not? Can't we just do that? I'm doing a bit from South Park.
Oh, okay.
And so that's the kind of, like, there were people on the board saying, no, we can't make another game because we're gonna get canceled.
Right. Well, here's the
And
question though, Saib. What hurts more? Hearing the vitriol from those types of people who live all day on Twitter? Or taking a $200 million loss on Suicide Squad? Yeah,
and that's the thing.
Yeah.
And this is what's going to like even up the playing field as far as the video game is. This is what's going to fix video gaming, because Hogwarts Legacy sold over 24 million copies. They made over $1 billion in revenue, and they go, shall we do that or shall we make another Concord? Like, that's the discussion. And it's dumb that this took a long time. This took over a year for them to actually sit down and say, okay, yes, we'll actually make another Hogwarts game.
Right.
Because they were pushing against it so hard because they were so afraid of the people who were so angry at them.
Just just to be fair, do we know that, like, we know there's a whole bunch of controversy and political controversy surrounding Harry Potter and the creator and all that, but do we know for sure that there was a huge push behind the scenes to stop a sequel from coming out because of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Basically, like we have good enough. I have good enough sources that say that the idea to like right away, they were prepared to make some. They had originally planned to do a bunch of DLC.
Right.
And a lot of that got canned before the game actually came out because they were under the impression that it was just not going to work
Right.
because of all the backlash. But they wanted to recoup. Basically, they wanted to break even because Warner Brothers was having a really bad year that year, and they were like, "All right, well, let's just recoup what we can."
Hmm.
But then they realized how much fandom there was coming in and saying, "No, we really want this. Please make this. We don't want to, we want to support this stuff. And if you make this, we're going to, it's going to work. We're going to support you. You're going to make your money. So please do this." And yeah, that's the thing that they had to fight against because they were just being told over and over and over again. It's like, no, we can't make another version of this game. We can't continue this.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until they got that, basically shoved in their face, when they finally stopped and realized, all right, this, I guess we'll do this. I guess we'll make this game.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that's wonderful news. So, note to everybody who's a Harry Potter fan, I'm going to have to ask all of you to do me a solid, okay? You know that Quidditch game that's coming out? Like that thing that they decided to
yeah,
make just so they could have a microtransaction filled game based on Harry Potter and not put it in Hogwarts Legacy? Yeah, don't buy that. Don't buy that. Just wait until, like, just make it like the next Concord, okay? Because if you do that, we're gonna get it in Hogwarts Legacy 2 for free. So just try to be wise with the way that you spend your dollar, okay? And that way, it will hold the creators to like feet to the fire. Now,
yeah.
I'm curious though. I don't know. Like, the other game that I have in mind that I want to make a comparison to, which might sound weird at first, but just bear with me, is Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 1 and 2, the most recent Spider-Man games, they both take place in New York. You expand New York a little bit, but they're both in New York. You can kind of get away with that because it's a big city, and you swing through it so much, and there's so much stuff to see, and New York is so associated with Spider-Man's identity. I wonder, what could they do with not just Hogwarts, the castle, but the surrounding area to really open it up and make it feel fresh for a sequel? I wonder, do they go to like the other magical institutions around the globe? Like maybe make it like multi-world, kind of like The Witcher 3 was? Does that sound reasonable?
I don't think so. I think the play is to keep it centered around Hogwarts
Well, yeah, keep it
because
centered there, but you have to
yeah,
expand it somehow.
yeah, like so opening up different locations, like I think that's a good idea. Opening up different like major events, I think is a good
Hmm.
idea.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and so I'd love to see that. And something that like if they depending on how far forward in time they come. One of the things that I'd love to see at some point is like a Victorian era Hogwarts,
Sure.
because you know what happened at the same time as the Victorian era?
Hmm. What's that?
The Wild West.
Okay.
Those two things happened at the same time
Uh,
on the same planet, literally like a few thousand miles away from each other.
so you want wizards and cowboys duking it out with
Ah,
each other?
wizards, cowboys, and Bellas from the Victorian age. Yeah, I think that's a recipe for awesomeness, frankly. Like, I
Expelliarmus,
mean,
y'all! Yeah.
like, man, I love the concept. I love the idea. So yeah, there's just so much that you can do, right?
Yeah, that's a really good
Like,
idea. Honestly, dude, it could really, really work if you do stuff like that. I really love that idea. And just to add to what you just said a second ago, like world events, I only played the first 4 hours of Hogwarts Legacy. I really want to go back and play it. I've only heard wonderful things about it. Were you ever able to go to the Chamber of Secrets?
I don't think you got into the Chamber of Secrets. I did you?
I would
No, I don't
love
think
it if like
you did.
just random stuff like that happened around the castle where you could like venture into that dark
You went.
forest or fight a boss and stuff like that would be so cool. Or
Oh,
maybe yeah.
there was a lot of that. Like there was a lot of that. Like Ash did a whole bunch of guides,
Oh
and
good.
we
Okay.
played through all of the heavy like the deep puzzle rooms. It
Hmm.
wasn't the Chamber of Secrets, but it was pretty close to it.
Sure.
And there were a lot of like big fights and like
Right.
epic things that you could do. And man, there was some of the ways that the game just lined up for me that were just so amazing. I was never like a super hardcore Harry Potter fan,
Hmm.
but I have never loved the franchise more than when I was playing the Hogwarts game.
Yeah.
It was so good. It was so interesting. The story, I did use a handful of mods to kind of like bend the world a little bit,
Right.
and that just really made me go, yeah, I really like this. This really makes sense. I really enjoy this.
Yeah. I'd really
So
be down. Yeah, I'm totally down for it. I need to find time to play it. Let's see what game do I need to play next? I need to finish. I need to finish Death Stranding. I want to do a 5 year retrospective on that.
mhm.
Who the hell knows when I'll be able to sort enough time? Because the game's like 50 hours long, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's a pretty big time sink.
I mean, you can push through the story a lot faster if you really wanted
Yeah,
to,
but I
but
don't.
yeah.
I like that. But that's a game. I'm like the story. I'm sure is fine, but that's a game where I want to experience everything. And like I wasn't a super hardcore Harry Potter fan, but I was a pretty big fan back when the
Mhm.
books were coming out and the movies were coming out. So I want to, I want it to be the proper experience. But anyway, that's great news. It'll probably be when the hell did the game come out? It came out in 2022, right? God, did it come out in 2022? It came out in 2022, didn't it?
I think so.
Oh my god, it's been over 2 years since that game came out. My god, Saib, what the
Yep.
hell? We're getting
Yep.
old, man. Dude, I had like so I don't know if people could hear this in my voice, but my voice is a little bit weak and I sound a little bit weak because I went to a concert yesterday. We're recording this on Thursday. I went to see Green Day and Smashing Pumpkins and Rancid at at I went to see them and
And I gotta say, like Green Day is one of my favorite fans. When
nice.
somebody first told me about a bunch of old Irish guys doing original Celtic music, I was like, I don't know if that's really what I'm into. But then when I went and listened to them,
Right.
especially when they brought out the bagpipes, I really liked it.
And they brought out all the
Um,
weed. Yeah.
I was told that there are two bands called Green Day. One is a traditional Celtic band,
Uh-huh.
and then the other one plays something like more modern. I don't know. I've never heard them before.
Yeah, something like some punk rock, maybe something like that. Yeah, they're cute. But yeah, my point was like they're two of my favorite bands, Smashing Pumpkins and Green Day, like my number one and my number two. And I was rocking out so hard, like headbanging, and came back today, and my entire upper body and my neck were in very like stiffer than they've ever been. I was in a lot of pain. It
Mhm.
was worth it. It was totally worth it. But I'm starting to feel old. Um, and why the hell did I bring this up? Like,
Because headache and voice.
right, but before that. Well, anyway, I'm sure you guys can connect the dots. We're just gonna move on. I'm sorry, guys. Please, it's been a weird couple days for me, and I'm not feeling all that well. Anyways, number three topic today. So, we were going to talk about Capcom. I know you had some tangential stuff to mention about that. That's very important. But I do want to give some respect to sort of a veteran of that studio that just announced his retirement a couple days ago on Twitter, a man named Hideaki Itsuno.
Hmm.
In case you guys don't know, he was instrumental in fleshing out the Devil May Cry series. He didn't work on Devil May Cry 1. He came out. He came on as a replacement director for Devil May Cry 2, and then he just pretty much stayed on the franchise all the way up until Devil May Cry 5. Plus, he worked on the Dragon's Dogma games, and obviously his most recent and last game that he did was Dragon's Dogma 2. Saib, I played Dragon's Dogma 1, and it might be in the top 5 most underrated RPGs that have ever been made. And I know it might be
Oh
weird to
yeah.
say that because the game has sold, it sold well. Like, it sold millions and millions of copies, but the game is of such a quality that despite that, I feel like it should have sold more. It should have sold games like, it should have sold
Yeah.
on the level of something like Skyrim. It's just because the combat in that game is the best it has ever been in a game of that type, of a fantasy
Yeah.
game. Like, just imagine Shadow of the Colossus combined with The Witcher.
There are so many hidden gems. Um, Jagged Alliance 2 is one of those games that if you play through it on easy mode and you just kind of like cruise through it really fast, you will never learn about the really like in-depth mechanics of the game. And it's not until you play the game on like super hard mode, like modded super hard mode, where they just increase the number of enemies and the enormous amounts of their skills, that you realize this is actually one of the best like guerrilla war games there is. And it's the same with Dragon's Dogma and Vampire the Masquerade, where as far as like RPG mechanics goes, it's like all of these games they just came out, literally in some cases they came out like 6 months too late. And that's what kept them from
Yeah.
being a household name and having, one of the biggest franchises in video gaming, and being that hidden gem where people never really got to know it. It's like that's the thing that sucks.
Right. Well, it sucks in retrospect, but thankfully, from everything that I've been able to gather, Dragon's Dogma 2 was able to fulfill that dream that Hideaki Itsuno always had, because he famously has spoken about Dragon's Dogma 1, and he said that it's an incomplete game. He only completed about 60 to 70% of the stuff that he wanted to do in that game. And Dragon's Dogma 2 was sort of like, this is especially true for anybody that knows anything about the game. And, even though I still haven't played the frickin' thing as much as I want to. I just don't have the time. Going back to what we were talking about with Hogwarts, what I do know about the game is that it's basically just kind of like a reboot, even though it's called
Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma 2. And, he was able to accomplish all the stuff that he wanted. And not only was it received well, it sold well. So he went out with the bang. And, it's sad to see him retire because the man had such a unique style. Because Devil May Cry is one, it's a series that I really need to get more invested in. I played all the way through Devil May Cry 5, which is weird because I
Mhm.
never did 1 through 4. But holy crap, that's a good game. It is so
Right?
freaking good. Yeah, and it's just really nothing else like it. And yeah, major talent, but nice to go out on top. And he'll be sorely missed. And the Devil May Cry series will continue on without him, and it'll be good, but it just won't be the same. So kudos. But yeah, you had something else you wanted to say tangentially about Capcom, right?
Well, just that that they're leaving a lot of stuff on the table, and I am worried that when we have epic, people like this leave the company, that we may not get somebody who's a worthy replacement, and that the guy that might be replacing him might be like, more live services with additional microtransaction options. All of the story is held behind microtransactions. And that's what I'm afraid of, because that's what we've seen in a lot of cases. I mean, when you look at EA, when you look at
Yeah.
a lot of the big studios from our past, we see this, and I'm worried about that so much. I'm worried that we might, by losing these people, it's more than just a double hit of losing their experience. It's losing their spirit and their vitality when it comes to making actually good games, and that's what I'm really really worried about. So hopefully that doesn't happen,
Yeah.
and that things don't end up like that. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know,
Yeah,
it might just get really bad.
it's reasonable to say that. Thankfully, I'd say overall Capcom is on a pretty steady trajectory upwards right now, but there is definitely potential for that to happen. Thankfully, we do have games
Mhm.
like Monster Hunter Wilds coming out. which looks
Yeah, and
awesome.
that looks great. Yeah, that
Looks,
really does.
dude, that's gonna be my first Monster Hunter game. It looks so like there's no way I cannot play it. I will find some way to make time to play that game. Oh, it
Right.
looks so good. And then obviously Resident Evil has been kicking ass. Don't know exactly what's happening next. I'm imagining it's probably gonna be Resident Evil 9, which I've been hearing is gonna be like open world.
Hmm.
Interesting. Just as long as it doesn't have Ethan anymore, I'll be fine with that. Yeah. So anyway, Hideaki Itsuno, thanks for your service, my friend, and enjoy your retirement. And finally, we got to talk about this piece of great news. So it's looking like, in a world that is just completely subsumed by the importance of IP, it's looking like the next big IP that's going to take on, everybody around the world's interest is going to be Warhammer 40K. Things are lining up for the TV series over at Amazon with the man, the myth, Henry Cavill being heavily involved in the creative process, which is fantastic. But like Warhammer has had a consistently solid contingent of hardcore fans that'll buy any of the games, along with all the figures and stuff like that. Thing is, Space Marine 2 is coming out on Tuesday. It's already available for some people that have pre-ordered the game. I think they got really early
Yeah.
access because I've been seeing some people play it. And the way people have been talking about this game is that it's going to be sort of the game that brings a whole bunch of new people that have never had any interest in 40K into the world. And I can understand why that is. And this is me speaking as somebody who knows virtually nothing about Warhammer 40K, although I have been learning some stuff about it because I have a couple of patrons of mine who are hardcore, hardcore Warhammer 40K fans. And I've asked them if there was some way that I could get into the series, what would be the perfect entryway? And they both of them said to me it's Space Marine 1. And they're right, because it's what Space Marine 1 is just like Gears of War, but with a Warhammer coat of paint. And it's awesome. It's mindless, but it's awesome. And it's like Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. I'm just going to call it Space Marine 2. It's too much of a mouthful. Coming out on Tuesday is sort of looking to be like the next step forward to try and bring in people who know nothing about the franchise. And Saib, it's looking like, from all the reviews that I've been hearing, that the game is so good that even people who aren't fans or have any interest in the franchise are going to want to develop an interest. The reviews for the game came out today, and across the board, they are stellar. I'm looking at Metacritic right now. All of them, let's see, how many reviews are there? There's, well, that's weird. It says there's 44 critic reviews, but in terms of positive, mixed, and negative, there's only 39. But anyway, 37 the reviews are positive and only 2 are mixed. And yeah, the mixed ones, even the mixed ones say the game just knocks it out of the park in terms of carnage, meleeing a whole bunch of hordes of aliens coming at you and mowing them down. There's just a visceral joy that comes from that we haven't really had since we were kids, that sort of thing. And their main criticisms are just oh, well, they don't really like the multiplayer all that much, and they put a lot of emphasis on that, and they didn't really find the story all that great. But everybody else, they understand what this game is. It's just 12 hours of high-octane, visceral, bloody fun where you just take your guns and shoot as many things as possible. And even though it's mindless, there's a certain degree of strategy to the mindlessness and, just being immersed in that world, which apparently this game is just off the chain in terms of being able to do that. So have you seen some of the videos, the levels design in this game? It's off the chain for a sequel to a game that came out 13 years ago. How amazing this game looks. The technology, the art direction, the graphics. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I saw the initial videos come out. There was some worry about it for a little while, but ultimately I think that they that was sort of an early peak, and I think it was good because they got some criticism about it being a little too on the slow side,
Hmm.
but there were moments where where you're fighting just waves and waves and waves of enemies, and it's like at that moment, that's where the game just like takes off. Like that
Yeah.
that's where yes, it's slow, but like again, that's the good slow, right? It's like doing like a Mech Warrior game where you come around the corner and you just unload in a way that looks like yeah, yeah, and it feels so good. And it's like
Mm.
that's the excitement that we want in these kinds of games, and it's the excitement that is going to make the game good.
Right.
Like really really good, really really well respected. It's like once that becomes once they really focus in on that, and from what I've heard, that seems to be what they've done is they managed to really focus in on that kind of stuff, really making the game quite a lot better from the initial like early showcases that they did, which was I think most of those were like over a year ago now.
Yeah, and even then, it
So
looked pretty good. Yeah, but
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And one thing that I personally was kind of concerned about is like, okay, some of the stuff that you're showing us just looks like it's a little bit too good to be true. And what I mean by that is the multiple different, like literally hundreds of aliens on screen, and it's like,
yeah,
some people might retort to that. Well, what about like Muso games, like the Warrior series, like Dynasty Warriors or Samurai Warriors or the Drakengard series, where you have hundreds of enemies on screen? Yeah, but those games are nowhere near as technically or graphically sophisticated as Space Marine 2. But from all the reviews that I've been able to watch this morning, Saib, they say that even on lower end hardware, this game, you can have it at high settings and it will still maintain 60 frames per second, no matter
mhm.
how many enemies there are on screen. It's a technical work of art, and I guess that's what they
There
spent these 13 years working on.
right, and there has been some tech. There's been a lot of movement, and I do wonder if there has been some like similar if I do wonder if there's been some cooperative work between the studio and Grums. Grums is a former game developer. He's now retired, but he's working on this like game on the side, and they've been pushing this kind of like this tech where you have the the swarm tech, and I've seen a lot of stuff on his tech on how that's running. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but it is the system where it's like, yeah, they're making it so that you can literally have hundreds and hundreds of enemies on the screen at once. And that's what that's really what we want to see like more of. So
Oh yeah.
I'm super stoked for it. I hope that it comes out. I Again, I really wish that they gave us. I know it follows more of an original story, but I really love a character creator on that.
Yeah.
Um, just because it's just so good that you really want to, right?
Right. Well, a game,
But
if Warhammer achieves the level of success that I think you and I know it's capable of, I think a game like that will definitely come along. And it will,
yeah,
yeah, certainly, maybe even by the people that made this game. Maybe they won't have to wait 13 years before we can get another one, and they can give us something like that. Maybe something that doesn't focus on Titus. I'd be down for
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. I just hope I'm hoping that's what we get at some point, because I really want to see a really big world with this, because the the options are there, the tools are there, it's always been there. The Warhammer and MMO that came out years and years ago by EA was a travesty because of just they didn't understand what they were making. They didn't understand what people wanted. They didn't understand the market, the players, anything, and they really ended up flying that into the side of a mountain.
Mhm.
But it still had its fans, and I want to see the Warhammer thing do good, and part of that is going to come really down to like who's running the show, and I really hope Henry Cavill gets like more involved, because man, that guy almost missed his curtain call for not curtain call his original Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Congratulations, because he was raiding. in WoW. It's like if there's anybody who understands what
Right.
people like, and he really understands the Warhammer universe. He really understands the
Mhm.
Warhammer universe, and I love watching like when he gets like really passionate about it. He starts talking about it, and there's a whole bunch of girls watching him who have no idea about the world and the lore, the story, but they just suddenly like stare at him, and they're just like they're hooked on every word that he's saying. Probably because he's Henry Cavill,
Right.
but at
I
the
was
same
about to
time,
say, like that guy could talk about like stock market failures of that particular day and they'll just be entranced because the dude is just
yeah,
so
yeah.
unfairly handsome to gentlemen like you and I that you know yeah, but and I hope especially for Henry Cavill, just given how much like his talent has been mistreated by the industry, particularly when it came to him playing Superman, I think he deserved far better. Like I thought the first Man of Steel movie was awesome, but then after that it really went downhill for me. And
Bad directors.
sorry.
Bad directors.
Yep, and bad
And
management.
writers. The writers are the real problem because there's so many absolutely atrocious writers in Hollywood who they want to put their own spin on it. It's like,
Yeah,
no, stop.
yeah.
Stop.
Wait, so what?
Stop putting your own spin on this. It's so dumb. It's so frustrating.
So what you're saying is that bringing Doomsday into the second movie in your DC cinematic universe is not a good idea?
Ugh.
No. Oh man, I hated Batman versus Superman. Like more power to those people that do enjoy it. I'm sincerely glad that you enjoyed it. I could never personally get over that. Anyway, yeah, Warhammer 40K. This could be like the perfect thing to finally give Henry Cavill all the respect that he deserves. That or, you know, and some people might get this joke. He could play Wolverine. Anyway, that'll do this for us, ladies and gentlemen. That's all the stories that we got for you today. Thank you so much for tuning into Maximum News. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you leave a comment. We want to hear from you, whether you agree or disagree with any of the stuff that Saib and I say here. We want to keep the conversation going, provided it's civil, which, you know, pretty much everybody who watches our videos is. Anything you want to say before we're done, man?
No, I'm breaking up here, so I think I'm losing my satellites. But yeah. Thanks for watching and leave us more comments.
All
Love
right,
it.
cool. And you guys could just find me on the main social media websites, just at Max Derrat, mainly my YouTube, which I'll link to in the description box below. Make sure you go check out my most recent video, which is on a game called Drakengard 3. It's made by the creator of the Nier games, which tends to be the more popular ones. Like Drakengard and Nier share the same universe, but Nier tends to be the more popular games in that universe for whatever reason. Drakengard 3 is probably the most vile game I've ever played. And people ask me, well, what about Postal, Max? Well, I've never played Postal. It doesn't really appeal to me. You feel me? Yeah, the Drakengard 3 so is plenty vile, and I go into full detail about that. So go check it out. Anyways, guys, until we do this again next week, maybe when I've been able to play some Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2, I want to remind you, as always and as per usual, stay yellow.
Goodbye.